Notes from the Upper West Side, a novel by Dan Wrench.
Chapter 90. Teresa Klempick. I lay there staring around the room at the standard hotel furniture, the little desk in the corner, the cheap tiny sofa, the sturdy bureau, and the tight pressed sheets and the faint hint of bleach, and the drapes, too straight, too pleated, and everything made of fake stuff from chemicals. While I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, Parp is my bete noire, and quite possibly an enemy of the people, a domestic terrorist of manners. And he fucked up my fuck date. Again. Someday there will be an investigation. I left the room and went downstairs. I gave the guy at the front desk the gold card and the 2 key cards. He checked the computer. He looked up at me, then back at the computer, and then up at me again.
"You're supposed to show the gold card when you check in,"
He said. Forgot.
"And the person who checked in, Cameron Stout, she's still here?"
Nope, she left. He stared at me some more. His hair was tousled and dirty, and he hadn't shaved. His suit was all bunchy like he'd spent the last 2 nights sleeping on a stack of magazines. Who knows what he was thinking about my wayward gold card? "Okay," he said finally with the professional hotelier deadpan. He ran the card and gave it back, and I went out into the street. So he knows it was a fuck date, I thought. Big deal. This hotel would be bankrupt if young Humpables didn't come here to slam. Now here's even more of a shoot me again, I'm not quite dead moment. I was starting to get a hard-on. I'm not kidding you. And maybe I should have known. Maybe you saw it coming. The bone was growing. I guess it was the drugs and kegels. Or the drugs anyway. Or the kegels. Oh, fuck if I know anymore. But I was pretty sure if I'd had any prior experience with Admiral Ballsy on Corvafil, I would have known another bone was right behind the bone Cammy swallowed. And that I probably would have gotten it before I was scheduled to jam my tongue up her ass. Then I could have fucked her little tail like I wanted. Then we could have maybe continued to have fuck date after fuck date after fuck date. But now the Admiral was just an unemployed piece of meat looking for a handout. It's killing me to have to tell this, but I guess that's the whole therapy angle of typing my blood through the keyboard. I mean, if it weren't for the unexpected boner, I wouldn't have called Fern, and she wouldn't have... Okay, I'm taking a breath. When I was in high school senior year, I had this almost girlfriend named Teresa Klempick, who, okay, we made out a few times, and I maybe told her I love you a few times. Teresa's family ran a lumber yard, and when I say family, I mean her whole family. I don't even know who was the boss of the lumber yard because it looked like her mom and dad were both the boss. I remember them arguing about getting an 800 number.
Toll free. Who needs to order lumber toll free?
"I don't know, but everybody has toll-free number nowadays, even the druggist."
So it's a status thing with you.
"Yes, it's a status thing with me."
And when me and Teresa started getting friendly in the mouth-on-mouth sense, I used to hang out over at her house in the afternoon with her parents at the lumberyard 3 miles away, or maybe 4, because for some reason they trusted us. Anyway, one day we were alone at her house and we started with the kissing and feeling each other up when she pulled away from me suddenly and sort of sat there trembling on her sofa. She wasn't leaning any which way, but she sat up extra straight and said, "I don't pull BJs." And I said, "Well, that's okay." She broke out into all smiles.
You mean it?
"Yeah, sure." So we started feeling each other up some more and kept at it till her parents came home. We had a great excuse to keep meeting without pretending to be out at a mall with a bunch of chums. Namely, she was way smarter than me in math and was helping me study for the SATs. But mainly we just met each other every afternoon and made out and felt each other up. It was great until she started feeding me Jesus. See, Teresa and her whole family were what we used to call fundamentalists and who I guess you would in these modern times call evangelicals. They had Bibles everywhere in their house and at the lumberyard, and there was even one in the glove compartment of their car. In their living room, they had a massive one open on a coffee table with a red ribbon marking the page in case it got accidentally closed. There were pictures of Jesus in every room. Once I had to go down and get a hammer for Mr. Klempick from this utility closet in their cellar. I opened the door and boom, on the shelf right at eye level, there was this picture of Jesus' face in a wooden frame next to a toolbox. And there were lots of other pictures in their house of the other people in the Jesus gang whose names I didn't know. And pretty soon it was, "Come to church with me," and "Read the Bible with me." And see, for me, asking me to go to church was like asking me to wear a sweater in the shower while singing Christmas carols for an hour. My folks had zero concept of the afterlife and religion, so being around people who believed that God was always watching and Jesus was always watching was like being around people who believed in giant hall monitors, who followed you around and watched you sleep and wanted to hear you sing at least once a week about how fantastic they are for pretending you're not a bastard. It was like being a little kid and they tell you you've got to spend every Sunday in a goofy little suit learning the names of all Jesus's best pals, or else Carol Marquette, the Sunday school teacher, will dig her chin into your shoulder. So I started finding excuses for not seeing Teresa anymore. I was too scared to tell her why, so I just dodged her. Skipped our afternoon dates, sat at another table in the cafeteria. Then one day she cornered me in the hallway at high school and said, "We have to talk," with her face all red like she was about to bawl or yell at me. She led me to this little room next to the band equipment storage locker. This room had a big window in the wall and a piano in it for music students. People could still see us through the window, but they just kept walking past like we were invisible. I tried to make an excuse for dodging her, but she started crying and said in this scary cow low voice,
"So I guess this is my fault for not pulling BJs like Denise Jemison."
But I didn't mean to make her cry. I was a stupid kid who thought she'd just shrug and move on to somebody new who liked church. Did I mention I was a stupid kid? So I screwed it up with Teresa by not telling her the truth. And a million years later, I screwed it up with Fern by telling her the truth.
Notes from the Upper West Side is a work of fiction. The people depicted in this work do not exist.
Notes from the Upper West Side, copyright 2022 by Dan Reg.